That's right. Whew! The birds and the bees hit like a ton of bricks in this episode of Darling in the Franxx. This is the episode that everybody's gonna freak out about, and they actually have good reason to do so. First off, we get a proper introduction to the Klaxosaur princess. I'm not quite sure what her ultimate affiliation is, who she wants to kill, what she wants to roll, what her ultimate motivation is. What I will say is, she looks awesome. She's basically a blue version of 02, and she has all of these big tentacles which come out of her back, which she can actually utilize, and she also has control over two massive dragon creatures, one which looks like a traditional dragon, and the other which looks like a friggin' cobra. Why am I bringing this up? Because there's a really great scene where these two messengers from Ape come down to the Klaxosaur princess's lair and they beg for her surrender, which is kind of haughty of them, and they're basically just asking for it, which of course leads to the Klaxosaur princess just completely annihilating both of these characters. I do love that one of them actually tried to fight back, but it just got completely filleted and skewered by her massive tentacle attacks. The other guy also just had his head just completely squashed by those two giant dragon creatures. What is interesting about this scene, of course, though, is how it ends when she knocks off one of the masks of the 8 members, and you don't actually get to see the face, but she refers to them as human wannabes. At this point, I'm starting to think that the 8 members literally are just that. Apes, gorillas, orangutans, Donkey Kongs, whatever you want to call them, they're going to be 8 people. Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say. What I will say is some of my other theories have come true. Apparently, Hiro is growing horns, and yes, they are going to be blue. I had a feeling that this was going to happen, and it honestly works perfectly, because when you put the two characters together, they're like the stereotypical Japanese blue Oni. There's always a red one and always a blue one. They're kind of like Gaz and Mez from Dragon Ball Z. But let's get to the creamy center of this Twinkie. This episode is all about Kokoro and Mitsuru. You guys know what I'm talking about. You can't be blind to it. We've seen it for the last couple of episodes. We knew that these two characters were eventually going to get it on, and guess what? It happens. I honestly thought that Hiro and 02 were going to be the first two characters to have sex. I did not expect that it was going to be Mitsuru and Kokoro, and this is what's crazy to me. At the beginning of the series, I thought that Mitsuru and Kokoro were really boring characters. I didn't really care about where their story arc was ultimately headed because I was just basically thinking they were just going to be background characters, there for moral support. But they've had some of the most deep and realistic development that I've seen from the entire series. Especially during this very steamy moment between the two, where Kokoro basically straddles him and starts to take off his shirt, but he completely freaks out and runs away. It's not until he talks to Hiro later on in the episode that he realizes that he absolutely loves her. He wants to have the same relationship that Hiro and 02 has. Then that's when the giant piece of shit smacks into the massive, ridiculous, gargantuan fan. This is when the Nines group shows up and just decide to throw a wrench into everything and everything into chaos. And you know what? It's not even the Nines group, it's mostly just 9 Alpha. He just seems to get under everyone's skin. It starts off small with the fact that 02 does not like 9 Alpha at all and rejects his ideas, and she desperately wants to keep her very own name. She doesn't really give a crap about Papa and any of the Ape higher-ups. We then have the bombshell, though, when 9 Alpha discovers the book that Kokoro has been reading about making babies. And this is also coinciding with a really big scene where Kokoro just out of nowhere announces to everyone that she wants to have a baby. She knows what it means to make a baby, she knows the requirements, and she just says they need to go off and do their own thing. Basically, she's planting the seeds of rebellion, which I think is really awesome, because I've always sort of thought in the back of my mind that Squad 13 is eventually going to leave these people, try to escape and do their very own thing, and maybe even rebel against them. Maybe the Klaxosaur princess isn't the real villain, maybe it's Ape after all. But all this spout about making babies and going off and doing your very own thing independently really does not sit well with 9 Alpha, who comes in and says that her ideals are completely disgusting and that gender itself is basically kind of a pain, which of course pisses off Ikuno. What I especially love about this scene right here is just how well it's crafted. The fact that this thing about gender would actually upset her makes perfect sense, as one, she's completely in love with Ichigo. They're not even trying to hide that in the series. Just look at the brand new ending where she's basically getting all up in that Ichigo grill. The fact of the matter is, this talk about gender being a pain is something that really hurts Ikuno personally, especially considering that apparently same genders can't actually pilot the Franxx at all. And this basically spurs her to get up, walk right over to 9 Alpha, and smack the crap out of him. That moment right there was worth the price of admission, and if anything, it probably makes this, without a doubt, the most topical episode of Darling in the Franxx. After spreading some propaganda about doing the do, Nana and No Personality Man show up, and they decide that they're going to bring her back, and they try to reprimand her a little bit, but Kokoro's having none of that at all. She continues to fight against them, knowing that they have the ability to reproduce with one another. They should be able to have these relationships and form families and have babies. But then suddenly, all of these memories start to flood back into Nana's head, as if basically her memories were ultimately suppressed, and it's brought back her true personality. And it's at that point that they decide maybe they should get a new Nana, which is really freaky, showing how incredibly disposable these people are. They're willing to just get rid of them like trash and just rename them the same thing. That is highly disturbing, in my opinion. I don't know if we're going to see a new Nana or not, but I'm very anxious to see how that's going to go down. So Kokoro returns to the dorms, and she's, of course, very upset about these events, and Mitsuru decides to go and console her, letting her know that what she was thinking was not wrong, and he eventually does confess his love for her. They end up kissing, and, well, of course, that leads to a little lovemaking, and this scene hits hard. Especially because, again, I didn't expect these characters to get this type of development, and it was in that moment that you could probably hear Futoshi's heart completely crushing. He's officially become a joke character at this point in the series, ladies and gentlemen. The girl he loved doesn't want anything to do with him, and the girl he pilots is into Ichigo. Sucks to be him. The episode ends with the apes in space! Why are they in space? I don't know. I'm guessing they're getting ready to have an all-out war with the Klaxosaur princess, and they want a really good viewing space for it. So what's the rundown on this episode of Darling in the Franxx? Man, just... this episode just hit so hard right here. This is going to be the turning point of the series. I don't think we've quite reached that aha moment where everything has fallen into place, but this is the one that's really starting to get me sucked in. Before I saw it as just sort of an artsy mecha show. Now it's certainly transformed into something else, and I find myself feeling and caring for these characters, and that's a really big accomplishment right there. That and the fact that I loved the fact that Hiro is going to be getting blue horns. I'm so excited for that. I know that seems like a minor thing, but man, it's something that I theorized about for a long time, and to finally see it happening with him slowly starting to grow out of his head, that's a pretty big deal, and I love just watching him and Zero Two together. They love each other so much, and they continue to get closer. Now they're casually kissing one another. Zero Two has this beautiful little flower headdress they make for her. She really has become a part of the team at this point, and has just become so much more pleasant than she was in the first half of the series. And really, that can go for just about every single character. And a lot of people had some standout moments in this episode. Of course, Kokoro and Mitsuru were without a doubt the stars here, but that one scene with Ikuno slapping 9 Alpha, whew, that felt so good right there. Some of the most intriguing stuff definitely comes from the Klaxosaur princess and the ape scientists, especially the final scene, which has a throwaway line where one member of ape basically says that the Klaxosaur princess is going to feel the pain of the earth being scorched by its very own creations. What does that even mean? Like, really, what is going on here? Why is this evolving into this, like, Evangelion-styled stuff right here? This review has gone on long enough. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. This was one of the most hard-hitting episodes of Darling in the Franxx, whether it be the incredible introduction of the Klaxosaur princess or the amazingly beautiful scene between Mitsuru and Kokoro. It just absolutely worked. I can't wait to see what the future holds for the series. I have a feeling that Squad 13 is going to try and escape and do their very own thing, and might even join the Klaxosaur princess in battling against the ape scientists and the ones that are ultimately trying to basically subjugate them and basically breed them into being their very own personal weapons. Just, man, there's so many more possibilities for the end of this series, and I definitely can't wait to be along for the ride on this one. Darling in the Franxx has started out as kind of like a mild entertainment thing for me at the beginning of this season, but it's already turning into arguably the biggest hit of the anime season at this point, as far as I'm concerned, and you should definitely be watching. This episode was great, it was emotional, it was action-packed, and it was just plain awesome. And that's why I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the episode. Tell me all of them in the comment section below, and what you hope to see from the rest of the Darling in the Franxx anime series. Let's start a cool discussion. If you guys have any questions for me, I'd love to talk with you guys about this episode right here. So there it is. Thank you guys for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more awesome anime reviews. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, stay damn down, baby. They find the book that belongs to Kokoro. They know what it means to make babies. They know what it means to throw the sausage down the hallway.